information has no effect whatsoever on any diskettes in either of the drives. The advantage of this is simply if you choose not to have anyone see what is on the screen and you want to get it off quickly, you can use the clear screen command. Or if your screen's getting a little cluttered and you'd like to sort of start over at the top, the clear screen command is what you want to use. Let's review what we've covered so far. We've learned a diskette is an electronic file cabinet and contains files similar to the conventional file cabinet you probably have in your office or home today. And the disk operating system provides you with a series of commands to operate on those electronic files pretty much the same way you operate on your conventional files. The disk operating system commands that we've covered today are format, directory, copy and comp, disk copy and disk comp, rename, erase, and clear screen. Now, these are the DOS commands that you will use daily when operating your IBM personal computer. So I encourage you to become familiar with each of the commands through practice and experimentation. The IBM personal computer has some hardware functions that I think you'll find very useful. They're not part of the disk operating system, but when you're using the IBM PC and some of the commands of the disk operating system, you'll find these hardware functions very nice. The first one I want to discuss is control break, which is named that because those are the keys you depress when you want to execute it. What it does is it stops whatever you're doing, terminates it, stops it dead, and gets you back to the A prompt. Let me give you an example. Let's suppose we were doing disk copy command. We keyed it in, and we got a message to insert the source diskette in drive A. And at this point, we realized this is not at all the command we wanted to execute, and we wanted to just stop it and get back to the A prompt. To do this, we would depress the control key located here, and then simply hit the break key. And as you can see, we got back to the A prompt. The IBM personal computer has another function that you'll find very, very helpful. It makes an exact copy of what's on the screen onto the printer. Let me give you an example. Suppose we take a directory of the diskette in drive B, and it displayed on the screen. And we would like to make an exact copy of everything that's on the screen onto the printer. To do this, we simply depress the Shift key located here, hold it down, and hit the print screen key located here. And we see that the screen is being printed on the printer. This is very, very useful when you want to record situations that occur unexpectedly so that you can refer to them at a later date. The next hardware function I want to talk about is what we call echo print. And we call it echo print because when we activate the echo print function, anything that appears on the screen is echoed or duplicated on the printer. I'd like to show you how this works. Echo print is something we turn on, and it remains on until we turn it off again. To turn it on, we simply depress the control key located here, hold it down, and hit the print screen key located here. We have now activated echo print. So anything that appears on the screen from this point on will also be printed on the printer. The best way to demonstrate this is for me to take another directory. So we'll take a directory of the diskette located in drive B. And we can see everything that appears on the screen is also being printed on the printer. This is a very nice hardware function that lets you record everything that transpires on the screen. Now, this printing will continue until we turn off the echo print, which is exactly the same way we turned it on by depressing the control key located here and hitting the print screen key located here. We now see when we take a directory of B, it no longer prints on the printer. Let's review the three hardware functions we've just talked about. Controlled break is the ability to terminate any command we may be executing and return to the A prompt. We've talked about screen copy, which lets us make an exact copy of what is on the screen at any time and print it on the printer. And we've talked about echo print, which is the ability to record everything as it appears on the screen, also on the printer. I think all three of these hardware functions you'll find very useful in the day-to-day use of your IBM PC. At this time, I'd like to review some of the more common error messages you'll receive in your day-to-day use of your IBM PC. The first one is what happens when you key in a command that the disk operating system doesn't understand. For example, let's suppose we want to take a directory of the diskette located in drive B, and we key DER instead of DIR for directory. Then we key our B:, and we hit the enter key. We get a message that says bad command or file name. What the disk operating system is telling us is the DER is not a command, and it's certainly not a file name, so it doesn't know what to do. It simply gives us that error message, it returns the A prompt, and gives us an opportunity to rekey the command properly. I think it's obvious in this example that you would simply key DIR again, followed by the B:, and you would properly execute the directory. Now, the next error message that you'll see is what happens when you insert a diskette and make an attempt to boot up the system, and that diskette is not a DOS diskette. Example, the diskette we have in drive B is not a DOS diskette. Let's try to boot up the system using that diskette and see what happens. Remove the DOS diskette, and we will transfer our diskette from B over to A, and we'll try to boot up the system. Let's review the boot up. We hit the Control key and the Alt key located here, hold them down, and then we hit the Delete key located here. We're now going through our routine in which we are booting up the system. But we get an error message that says non-system diskette or disk error. We are getting that message because the diskette we placed in drive A is not a DOS diskette. What we would do in this instance is remove the non-DOS diskette, replace it with a DOS diskette, and do what the PC tells us, strike any key when ready. We can now see that we go through and successfully complete the normal boot up procedure. It asks us to enter the date, and we can bypass that and enter the time. Now, the next error message I want to show you is what happens when we try to take a directory and we fail to close the diskette drive. For example, we want to take a directory of this diskette, so we place it in drive B, we do not close the diskette drive, and we key in the command directory B:, and we hit the enter key, and it accesses, as you can see with the red light on, it accesses the drive, but because the door is not closed, we get a message that says not ready, error reading drive B, and we have three choices: abort, retry, and ignore, which are three choices that you often get when errors are presented to you. Abort says return to the A prompt. Stop everything, return to the A prompt. Retry says, or tells the disk operating system to try the command again. And ignore says go on to the next command if one exists. Typically, all you use is abort or retry. In our example, what we do is we close the diskette drive flap, and we take the retry command. We want to retry the directory command. To do that, we key in R for retry. You can now see that we successfully get a directory of the diskette located on drive B. I want to show you what happens when you reference a file name that doesn't exist on the diskette. For example, let's suppose we think there's a file by the name of Tallo, T-A-L-L-O, located on diskette drive A, and we make an attempt to copy it. So we key in the copy command, A:, T-A-L-L-O, and we tell the disk operating system to copy it to the diskette located in drive B. But when we hit the enter key, it tells us that the Tallo file cannot be found. It's simply saying that a file by the name of Tallo does not exist on the diskette located in drive A. And what we should do at this point is stop and check the various diskettes and make sure we have the right diskette and the right drive, and re-enter the copy command. The next error I want to explain is what happens when you don't tell the disk operating system enough when you're using a command. For example, when you use the copy command, it assumes you're at least going to tell it what drive and what file you'd like to work on. But let's suppose for some reason you simply key copy and you prematurely enter the copy command. You get the message invalid number of parameters. Now what the disk operating system is telling you is it expected more when you use the copy command. It wanted to know some other things. You receive the A prompt back, and the way to approach it is to key the command properly with the proper parameters. Now I want to urge you, whenever you get an error, stop and review what you really want to do. Remember, the disk operating system is a series of programs supplied by IBM that control and monitor your IBM PC. We've showed you how to start and boot up the disk operating system. We've discussed the commands that you'll be using in the daily operation of your PC. We've explained some helpful hardware functions, and we showed you the cause and solution of some of the more common errors you'll be receiving. Now, before I leave, I'd like to remind you that the disk operating system is necessary to use most software packages you may purchase for your PC. So I encourage you to take some time, use and understand the DOS commands. It will be time well spent. Well, it's about time for Jim to wake up and get to work. Remember, Jim, a 9-letter word for getting a computer going is booting up.
Are you getting up, Jim?
Yeah, in a minute. Oh, and it's booting up.
What's booting up?
The 9-letter term for getting a computer going. I'm up.
A world of knowledge from 4 different worlds: business systems, personal skills, career guidance, and engineering technology. Available only through Vencompass Knowledge Systems.